They had been together for decades. They weathered storms. They raised children. They built a life together. But then, shortly before their so-called golden years, they quietly divorced. At first glance, this may seem like a rare exception. But it is not. In fact, in recent years, divorce after age 60 has become one of the fastest-growing social trends in the world. Sociologists have even given it a name, graydivorce. And while the reasons for this phenomenon are varied, its impact is profound. Let's take a moment to talk about something we often tiptoe around. Life after 60 isn't about slowing down, it's about choosing freedom. Whether you're here out of curiosity, reflection, or because you're standing at a crossroads yourself, welcome. You're not alone. If you believe it's never too late to choose yourself, drop a quick comment below that says, "My life, my rules," just a few words that let me know this message is reaching the right people. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Senior Longevity Tips, because every day, we share real, practical advice to help older adults live with purpose, strength, and independence. More and more people over 60 are choosing divorce, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. They're choosing peace over pressure, growth over guilt, and self-respect over routine. After decades of caregiving, compromise, or simply doing what was expected, many are asking, "What about me?" And that question isn't selfish, it's powerful. Divorce after 60 isn't always easy. It can be emotional, financially complex, and socially misunderstood. But for many, it opens the door to a new chapter, one filled with freedom, rediscovery, and joy. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. This is not a story about broken homes. This is a story about rediscovering yourself when the world thinks your story is already written. What if the second half of life could be just as meaningful, maybe even more so, than the first? What if letting go of something safe was the only way to step into something true? Not long ago, growing old together was considered the ultimate relationship success. Till death do us part wasn't just a vow, it was the finish line. But today, something is shifting. According to recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau and Pew Research Center, divorce rates among adults 60 and older have more than doubled over the past 3 decades. Even couples who were once the picture of stability are walking away from marriages that lasted 30, 40, even 50 years. Why? The reasons are complex, and deeply human. For some, it's emotional distance that's grown too wide to ignore. For others, it's years of caregiving burnout, financial strain, or long-standing silence that finally feels unbearable. Still others wake up one day and realize, "I've lived my whole life for others. Now I want to live for myself." And yet, despite the rise in numbers, gray divorce is still cloaked in stigma, often misunderstood, quietly judged, or entirely ignored. This series peels back that curtain. We bring together personal stories, hard data, and expert insights to explore what these divorces really cost, what they reveal, and, most importantly, what they can teach us about love, identity, freedom, and aging on your own terms. For many couples, retirement is the moment they've waited for their entire working lives. No more long commutes. No deadlines. Just time, finally, to enjoy life together. But behind the brochures of cruises and golf courses lies a more complicated truth: retirement changes everything. When the structure of daily work disappears, so does the distance that once masked emotional gaps. Couples who spent decades side by side but rarely soul to soul suddenly find themselves face to face with long-standing disconnects. Without the distractions of jobs and parenting, the cracks begin to show. What if you no longer have anything in common? What if your visions for this new chapter look nothing alike? What if the silence in the room says more than words ever could? Financial stress can deepen the divide. So can unspoken resentment, unmet needs, or health challenges that shift dynamics overnight. Many older adults, especially women, face a second, unpaid career, full-time caregiving, often without support. It's in this emotional pressure cooker that many begin to ask themselves, is this how I want to spend the rest of my life? Decades together don't always guarantee happiness. Sometimes, they mean years of quiet suffering. Many older adults describe feeling emotionally abandoned, even while living under the same roof. Feelings of loneliness can be crushing when shared with someone who once felt like your world. For caregivers, the emotional cost can be overwhelming. Taking care of a spouse with chronic illness or cognitive decline can lead to burnout, depression, and loss of self. Often, these sacrifices go unseen and unspoken. At the same time, the silence around these struggles grows louder. Society expects older couples to stay together, no matter what. Divorce at this age is still taboo in many circles, leaving people feeling isolated or ashamed. But the truth is, staying in a relationship that drains your spirit can be far more damaging than walking away. In this chapter, we ask the hard questions: how do you recognize emotional exhaustion? When does staying become harmful? And how can you begin to heal and reclaim your life? Divorce after 60 isn't just an emotional journey, it's a financial one too. Many don't realize how complicated dividing assets can be at this stage of life. Pensions, social security benefits, retirement accounts, all come with rules that can drastically affect your future security. For example, did you know that claiming social security benefits based on a spouse's work record can be a critical part of your retirement income? Or that splitting a 401k or pension can trigger taxes and penalties if not done correctly? Without the right knowledge, the financial fallout can be devastating, leaving people vulnerable in their later years. Because at 60 and beyond, financial independence is as crucial as emotional freedom. Divorce after decades of marriage can leave people feeling uncertain, even fearful, about the idea of love again. But here's the truth: your romantic life doesn't have an expiration date. For many, post-divorce life becomes a doorway to something completely unexpected, a new kind of connection. One based not on survival, shared parenting, or expectations, but on mutual respect, emotional clarity, and choice. That said, dating after 60 comes with its own set of questions. Where do you even begin? How do you balance vulnerability with wisdom? Can you trust again, without losing yourself? What does intimacy look like now, in a different body, in a different phase of life? Some people find new love. Others rediscover joy in companionship, friendship, or even solo adventures. There is no single path, only the one that fits you now. What matters most is giving yourself permission to feel again. To want again. To explore who you are, not who you were. After decades of sharing life with someone else, it's easy to lose sight of who you are on your own. Many people exiting long-term marriages find themselves asking a simple but profound question: who am I, without them? This isn't just about lifestyle or routines. It's about voice, desire, identity. What used to define you, your roles as spouse, caregiver, provider, homemaker, may no longer apply. Now, for the first time in years, maybe ever, you have space to ask, what do I truly enjoy? What did I give up? What's calling me now? This can feel disorienting, even scary, but it's also an opportunity for rebirth. You are not starting over. You're starting forward, with all your experience, wisdom, and resilience. This chapter explores how to rebuild not just a life, but a self, one that is deeper, freer, and fully your own. You are not what you've lost. You are what you still have the courage to become. Many long-term marriages don't end with a dramatic blow-up. They erode slowly, not from hatred, but from years of silence. Unspoken disappointments. Needs buried to keep the peace. Dreams shelved for the sake of stability or sacrifice. Over time, that silence becomes a third person in the relationship, always present, never acknowledged. You tell yourself it's not that bad. That it's too late to change. That speaking up will only make things worse. But here's the truth: silence has a cost, and it often shows up in the form of emotional distance, resentment, anxiety, even physical illness. This how unspoken truth impacts long relationships, and why, even in later life, it's not too late to start telling your story. Finding your voice now isn't just healing, it's liberating. Because no matter your age, your truth still matters. And speaking it might be the most radical form of self-respect there is. Marilyn, 67. I stayed married for 41 years because I thought that was what a good wife did. But after my husband retired, we just sat in silence. Every day. We weren't angry, just gone. When I left, I was terrified. But now, I take painting classes. I travel. I feel alive again, maybe for the first time. Dennis, 72. Men don't talk about this stuff. I didn't either. I worked, provided, and thought that was enough. When my wife left me, I realized I hadn't really asked her what she needed in years. It broke me. But therapy, for the first time in my life, saved me. I'm learning how to be present. How to listen. I'm dating again, and I'm better for it. Sharon, 64. I was a caregiver to my husband for 15 years. I loved him, but I lost myself completely. When he passed, I didn't know who I was. I didn't expect to feel free, and guilty for feeling that way. But now, I volunteer, I lead a walking group, and I just adopted a dog. I've learned that grief and rebirth can live side by side. These stories aren't about divorce. They're about courage, complexity, and becoming whole again, even in life's later chapters. Divorce at any age can feel isolating. But after 60, when social circles may already be shrinking, that isolation can cut even deeper. You lose more than a partner. Sometimes, you lose mutual friends, routines, even your sense of belonging. But here's the hope: connection doesn't end with a relationship, it can begin again with intention. Now more than ever, we need each other. To share meals that matter. To laugh out loud over things no one else understands. To sit in silence and still feel seen. This is where community becomes lifeline. And not just community you inherit, but community you create. Friendships can deepen in this season of life in ways that feel more honest and nourishing than ever before. Some find sisterhood or brotherhood in support groups. Others form new circles at yoga, hiking clubs, or continuing education classes. Some turn to chosen family, people they trust and love, who walk with them as peers, not out of duty but out of shared joy. Because whether you're grieving, healing, exploring, or thriving, no one is meant to do it alone. Our culture is obsessed with youth. It whispers, and sometimes shouts, if you haven't figured it out by now, it's too late. Too late to start over. Too late to heal. Too late to fall in love, find purpose, write a book, learn to dance, speak your truth. But here's the secret that many people discover only after 60. Freedom begins when you stop living by someone else's timeline. This is a wake-up call to the myth of too late. Because the second half of life isn't a slow fade, it's a chance for clarity, power, and presence like never before. You have nothing to prove. You've seen enough to know what matters. You've earned the right to live on your terms. And that makes you dangerous, in the best possible way. We spotlight inspiring examples of people who reinvented themselves later in life: a 68-year-old woman who launched a business, a 71-year-old man who began ballroom dancing, a 63-year-old who started a podcast to share her story with the world. They're not exceptions. They're reminders. Your life isn't winding down. It's waking up. In our younger years, success and happiness often follow someone else's blueprint. Heavy checkmark: a stable marriage. Heavy checkmark: a long career. Heavy checkmark: a house, a pension, a plan. But what happens when you reach those milestones, and still feel unfulfilled? Or when life takes turns you never expected: divorce, illness, loss, and you realize the old definitions no longer apply? That's when the real work begins, not chasing someone else's version of happiness, but discovering your own. For some, it's simplicity: a quiet morning, a warm coffee, no obligations. For others, it's creativity, finally learning to paint, sing, or write without judgment. For many, it's connection, deep friendships, spiritual exploration, meaningful conversations. Here's the truth: fulfillment after 60 isn't about more, it's about real. This reflections, journaling prompts, and questions to help you define what truly nourishes you. What does a good day feel like to you now? Who are you when no one needs anything from you? What makes you feel most alive? Let go of the old scorecards. This is your life. You set the terms. Starting over at 60 or 70 doesn't mean going back to square one. It means building from a wiser place, with deeper roots and clearer values. This is about practical renewal. Because inspiration is powerful, but without action, it fades. Here's how many older adults have begun to rebuild after divorce, one step at a time. 1. Emotional recovery. Talk to someone, a therapist, coach, or trusted friend. Speaking the truth out loud begins healing. Allow grief and relief to coexist. It's okay to feel both. Most do. Avoid emotional isolation. Community is not a luxury, it's medicine. 2. Financial reset. Meet with a financial planner who understands divorce in later life. Reassess your assets, budget, and retirement strategy. You might have more options than you think. Claim what's rightfully yours. Know the rules about pensions, social security, and shared property. 3. Lifestyle redesign. Declutter physically and emotionally. Letting go of things often helps let go of the past. Create new rituals, morning walks, Sunday calls, volunteer shifts. Try one new thing a week, a class, a group, a book. Reclaim curiosity. 4. Identity realignment. Ask, what now brings me peace? Joy? Meaning? Reflect on who you are, not as a partner, but as a full person. Reintroduce yourself to yourself. You're not too old. You're just finally old enough to know what matters. If you've this far, it means something in these words rang true. Maybe a quiet recognition. Maybe a loud yes. Maybe just a whisper, I'm not alone. Divorce after 60 isn't a failure. It's not the end of love, purpose, or hope. It's a threshold into a life more honest, more awake, more yours. You've already done the hard part. You lived through disappointment. You carried others. You endured the weight of silence. You made choices, or had them made for you, that cracked your world open. And now, you get to decide what comes next. Not out of obligation. Not out of fear. But out of freedom. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not left behind. You are stepping ahead, into a life on your own terms. You are not alone. Across the country and the world, thousands of others are walking this same path, quietly, bravely, one step at a time. So here's to you, to the woman who chose her voice. To the man who asked for help for the first time. To the couple who parted with kindness. To the soul who dares to love again, including themselves. This isn't just survival. This is resurgence. The golden years. They don't come from staying safe. They come from living true. So let me ask you, have you or someone you know made a bold decision later in life, whether it was ending a relationship, moving to a new city, or finally choosing peace? Share it in the comments. Let's normalize reinvention at any age. Because this isn't just a video, it's a community of courage. If this spoke to you, if it gave you clarity or comfort, give it a thumbs up. It helps this message reach others who might really need it right now. Let's learn from each other. Let's grow together. After all, this is not just a video, it's a community. And remember to subscribe to Senior Longevity Tips, your daily source for grounded wisdom, empowering ideas, and supportive conversations that celebrate aging as a time of growth, freedom, and choice. This channel is for conscious and experienced people who believe that aging well is not just about adding years to life, but filling each year with meaning, health, and joy. We talk about topics that really matter at this stage of life: nutrition for longevity, habits that support healthy aging, mental health and emotional balance, relationships, self-awareness and independence, financial confidence and security in retirement, rebuilding your life after loss or divorce, and inspiration to move forward, not looking back, but looking ahead. We choose honesty, care, and clarity, because you deserve content that respects your experience and inspires you to take new steps. So, whether you're here for yourself or for someone you love deeply, you're in the right place. You don't need permission to start over. You just need the courage to say, "I deserve more." And before we finish, let me say, thank you for being here. Thank you for being brave enough to imagine a new life. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, stay strong, and never stop choosing you.